The year is 1776. Across the Atlantic Ocean, 13 American colonies are ablaze with revolutionary fervor. Their struggle for independence from Great Britain is reaching a boiling point. But this momentous occasion wasn't a sudden eruption. It was the culmination of years of simmering tensions, fueled by increasingly oppressive British policies. After the costly French and Indian War, Britain, burdened by war debts, looked to its American colonies for revenue. The colonists, accustomed to a great deal of autonomy, found themselves subjected to a series of acts they deemed unjust. The Sugar Act of 1764, which levied taxes on sugar and molasses, was just the beginning. The Stamp Act of 1765, requiring colonists to purchase stamps for various documents and printed materials, further ignited their anger. This direct tax, seen as an infringement on their rights as Englishmen, galvanized colonial resistance. No taxation without representation became a rallying cry, echoing throughout the colonies. From Massachusetts to Georgia, a spirit of defiance grew. Colonists boycotted British goods, formed protest groups like the Sons of Liberty, and engaged in acts of civil disobedience. The British government, however, remained undeterred, determined to assert its authority over its colonial subjects. The repeal of the Stamp Act in 1766 provided a temporary reprieve, but did little to quell the underlying tensions. The British Parliament, unwilling to relinquish its claim of authority, passed the Declaratory Act. This act asserted Parliament's right to legislate for the colonies in all cases whatsoever. Further acts, such as the Townshend Acts of 1767, which imposed duties on goods like tea, glass, and paper, only served to reignite colonial anger. Protests escalated, and clashes between colonists and British troops became more frequent. The Boston Massacre of 1770, a tragic event where British soldiers fired upon unarmed colonists, killing 5, became a potent symbol of British oppression. Although tensions subsided somewhat in the aftermath, the seeds of discord had been sown. Then came the Tea Act of 1773, granting the British East India Company a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies. Though intended to help the struggling company, the act was seen by colonists as a blatant attempt to undermine colonial businesses and force them to accept taxed tea. The response was swift and defiant. On a cold December night in 1773, a group of colonists disguised as Native Americans boarded British ships docked in Boston Harbor and dumped 342 chests of tea into the water. This act of defiance, known as the Boston Tea Party, sent shockwaves across the Atlantic and became a powerful symbol of colonial resistance. The British government, outraged by the Boston Tea Party, responded with a series of punitive measures. The coercive acts, known in the colonies as the Intolerable Acts, were designed to punish Massachusetts and bring the rebellious colonists to heel. The port of Boston was closed, effectively strangling its economy. Town meetings were restricted, and the colony's charter was altered, curtailing self-governance. These acts, far from quelling the unrest, only served to solidify colonial resistance and unite the colonies against their common enemy. In response to these alarming developments, colonial leaders called for a Continental Congress. In September 1774, delegates from 12 colonies, Georgia was absent, assembled in Philadelphia for the First Continental Congress. This gathering marked a significant step toward colonial unity. The Congress, though divided on how to proceed, agreed on a number of measures. They drafted a Declaration of Rights and Grievances, asserting their rights as Englishmen and protesting British policies. They also organized a colonial militia and agreed to boycott British goods until their grievances were addressed. The First Continental Congress, though seeking reconciliation with the Crown, acknowledged the possibility of armed conflict. They agreed to reconvene the following year should their grievances remain unaddressed. The clock was ticking. As tensions escalated in 1775, the first shots of the American Revolution were fired at Lexington and Concord. The battles, though small in scale, marked a point of no return. The colonies were now at war with Great Britain. Amidst the growing turmoil, a powerful voice emerged, one that articulated the aspirations of many colonists. Thomas Paine, a recent immigrant from England, penned a pamphlet that would galvanize public opinion in favor of independence. Common Sense, published in January 1776, was a tour de force. Paine's arguments, written in plain language and imbued with passion, resonated deeply with colonists. He denounced the monarchy, argued for republicanism, and urged the colonies to declare their independence. Paine's words had a profound impact, swaying public opinion and emboldening colonial leaders. Common Sense became an instant bestseller, its message of liberty and self-determination spreading like wildfire throughout the colonies. The time for reconciliation had passed. The desire for independence, fueled by Paine's powerful arguments and the realities of war, was taking root in the hearts and minds of Americans.